My name is Santiago Ramirez. I'm an account executive on Workato's embedded team. I've been with Workato for about 2.5 years, helping customers bring integrations to market. So in today's product track, today will be experts tell all, proven strategies for taking Workato to market successfully. We're blessed to have a couple leaders here from 4 different organizations that have successfully priced, packaged, enabled, and marketed the Workato solution as their own to create differentiated offerings at scale. They're going to discuss strategy, considerations, key learnings, and benefits of each approach. As you can see, we can kick off with some introductions, starting with Alicia, and down the row.
Cool. Hi, everybody. I am Alicia Kropelnicki. I am the Director of Technology Partnerships at Agiloft. We are a contract lifecycle management company, and we integrated with Workato about 2 years ago now.
Thanks, everybody. My name is Tom Conley. I'm a principal product manager with Epicor, and I'm responsible for the Automation Studio product, which is our embedded version of Workato. I've been with Epicor for about 17 years in the ERP space and have a lot of experience in integration and business intelligence, and it's just been a pleasure working with you guys. So, you guys.
I'm Massimo Canonico. I work for Docebo, a learning management system, and I oversee our integrations, including our Workato product, as well as our own embedded solution.
Hello. Sorry. Hello, Ryan Suzanne. I'm with Logisense. We're a usage-based billing platform that's focused on upper mid-market and enterprise companies. I run go-to-market for the business. So I'm the lone sales guy, I think, on the board here, but have a heavy interaction with product.
Me too. Well, Ryan, let's start with you since you have the mic and we're passing it around. Can you tell us about your initial use case and why you chose Workato?
Sure. So we, in fact, chose someone else first, and it didn't go very well. And the first enterprise customer we were launching there already had a relationship with Workato, and he basically called me up and said, well, this isn't going well. Our CFO is not happy how this is working out. Clearly, the vendor you guys brought isn't working. We tried your vendor. Now you guys are going to try our vendor. So for us, we got introduced to Workato. We were forced into it by our customer base, and we focus primarily on high tech. And a lot of times when we get in there and the customers get under the hood, they already have Workato in place. So probably unique to some of the others on the panel here, we don't really hide that Workato is providing our workflow and our integration capability. We in fact promote it because we feel like it's a benefit for us.
Yeah, great. I mean, that kind of leads into Tom and your experience at Epicor. Care to share the same?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a little different approach at Epicor. As an ERP, we've been involved with integrations for a long time. We've worked with a lot of integration tools. Several other partners we've worked with that, we never had any horrible experiences, but the time to value to implement the tools just took a tremendous amount of time. And like all of you folks who are here who are familiar with integration, all of the challenges you run into with managing teams and resources and talent to be able to build those things was always a bottleneck for us. Being an ERP company, 10 years ago, everything lived in our product. ERP was the whole world. But what's happened over the last 10 years is this digital ecosystem has grown to all these niche products which now exist, which might not be for every ERP customer, but are going to be for a majority of them are going to need 1 or 2 of those niche products. So we needed a way to be able to really implement integrations at scale within Epicor. So unlike some of our folks I've met this week, we actually embedded the full platform within Epicor. We basically took the pool and just dove right into it. So for good and for bad, we learned a lot of lessons going through that, but that really is what our use case was, to provide integration and automation within Epicor and give our customers a jump start and to be able to do that without trying to build our own middleware platform, which, like we heard in the last session, is not something that I recommend doing.
Perfect. Alicia, what about you at Agiloft? What were some of the initial use cases and why you ultimately chose Workato?
Yeah, so we're a contract lifecycle management company. The people that are using our application are business users, and they're primarily lawyers, sometimes salespeople, sometimes procurement folks. And as we were looking at growing our business, again, the ecosystem play, contracts sit at the hub of your integration, of kind of the ecosystem of your tools, but there's data that we need to get kind of all over the place. And it wasn't going to be cost effective for us to, natively build all of those integrations. So we embedded the Workato platform after a pretty extensive buy, build, partner analysis. That's a lot of what I do, is figuring out whether it makes sense for us to, build it ourselves, buy somebody else, or partner. And when we looked at all the different tools that were out in the market, there was nothing that compared for what our customers needed in terms of, the volume of integrations that were available with Workato, everything that was pre-built with the recipes and the community. Like, it was a pre-built, amazing package that we could just lift and shift into our application and give our customers access to all of those things right away.
Awesome, awesome. So 3 to 4 embedding, right? Moving on to Massimo, I mean, how does Workato Embedded look within your product?
So for us, from a user experience perspective, we want to reduce the API usage as much as possible. Running our embedded solution, we want to avoid the mistakes some of our embedded customers make. Okay. So reducing maintenance costs, increasing stability, and speed to adoption of your new features. So we just iframe your platform inside of ours, at least from an end user experience. Okay. We do API integrations as far as operations.
Awesome. And did that take a while to evolve or progress, if you will?
So we've been a customer for a little over 3 years. I believe it took us about 12 months to get up and running. We went a little bit slow, just because of our provisioning systems and our SLAs for provisioning platforms. Because of our financial systems, we need to make sure that operationally all of that happened very, very well before we can go to market. Okay,
awesome. We're going to pivot a little bit to go-to-market rollout. So starting with Alicia, what kind of messaging do you take to your to market for your solution specifically? Or for instance, is it a story around integrations, automation, specific use cases? How do you actually market these things?
Yeah, so for us, it's kind of a combination of things. We really start with, there's so much data in your contracts, and you need to get that data from A to B to C to Q to Z and all these different places. And there's so much risk involved in that manual, sleuthing of data through all of your different systems. And so we really focused in on that message of being able to get your data where you need it, when you need it, and have it be reliable there. The other piece for us was we are a low-code, no-code platform, and so the low-code, no-code ethos of Workato fit really well into our initial messaging. And so it was a really nice fit for us, straight out of the gate there.
Okay. Tom, same question.
Yeah, so we basically 2 different approaches. One is because we embedded the tool completely within Epicor as we did. It really allows you to go and kind of market it as an integration and automation platform within Epicor, which is something we didn't have. In addition to that, we've opened up, similar to one of the things I heard in your roadmap, we have a thing we call industry templates, which are where we build our own recipes pre-built for Epicor that we publish within our iframe. To your point earlier, we don't hide the fact that we publish it through Workato. We actually promote powered by Workato because we think there's a value in looking at both companies and the synergy that both companies bring. So we do have our own little pieces on top of it, but we do also really press the point that it's Workato to take advantage of all the great marketing and research you guys have done. And then from the perspective of, I don't know if you want to get into price, how we pricing.
Sure. Yeah, that's good.
As far as how we kind of actually sell it to the customers, we have 2 options. We can either sell it at a task base, similar to how you guys would do, or we have a connection-based pricing plan that we can do. And it has worked out really, really well for our customers because it's enabled the ERP folks who are kind of low code to use the simple connectivity stuff. But in ERP, there's a lot of development. There's a lot of teams that have really deep benches and as far as IT goes. And those folks can do all the what I call action tools, where they can go in and do all the code and all the detailed stuff that people don't think of when they think of an iPaaS, right? Mm-hmm. So we also market that story and this is low code, but it's also a developer kind of enhancement tool. Right. And really 10x's your average API developer. So.
Yeah, I like one of the things that Elizabeth Kane, who I know, product marketing, yep. Right, said supercharging your engineers, and yep. That hits home. So Ryan, from one sales guy to another, how do you guys package and price and sell Workato?
We've changed, actually. When we first launched, we started with the task model, and we had the same model we were licensing from Workato. We were marking up and moving that model down. we ran into some issues where it was really hard for people to predict how many tasks they were going to use. And this is going to sound funny from someone that promotes usage-based billing all day, every day. For us, a lot of our customers had a lot more comfort in the connection model. So almost everything we do now is based on the connection model. Our typical use case that we started with was we always integrate with CRM and quoting northbound of us, and we always integrate with ERP southbound of us. And that was the real reason we needed to find a partner to make that better experience and much quicker. And you know, everyone I think today has been talking about low code, no code, and speed to market. And if you have your engineers develop the integration, and then the partner you're integrating with changes their API, you're back to ground zero, and it's just a non-starter for what we do. But we actually discovered an accidental use case in that our platform is API first and has webhooks that get published for every event that happens. So the sales engineering team basically discovered this for us, where we came on some edge case crazy scenarios that people were bringing our way. And we're actually using Workato as well for implementing customized business process. So if they have something that's super unique for a classic customer or for a product, rather than us have to develop that feature, not only to roll it out, but especially in a sandbox or a POC, proof of concept environment, we just have Workato listen for that webhook and then perform whatever transformation it needs to and jam it back into our API. And if I had to guess, I'd say about 1/3 of the value we get now is from that accidental discovery.
Yeah, I think that's a common thread, both from a technical perspective and go-to-market. You start to evolve, experiment, and then potentially open up new revenue streams that you didn't have in the past. Massimo, what about you at Docebo? How are you pricing and packaging Workato?
So a few different ways. We have multiple SKUs that represent Workato, which we call Docebo Connect. So unlike some others, we package and market as our own product. Although if a customer asks, we're not hesitant to share the truth. And so we have a platform fee and a connection per connector fee. And then we have native integrations that recipes that we hide as native integrations, and the strategic ones we price accordingly. So what we'll have a recipe acting as a native integration with a separate pricing, and then we have our per connector and platform access pricing.
Okay, so a little bit of complexity there, right? And I think that ties into the point, creating a product or creating a SKU is one thing, but how are you going about enabling the field sales team, solution consultants to actually execute on that vision and make the company money?
With a lot of difficulty. Our buyer is not the typical Workato buyer. Our buyer is a business buyer. So we have LMS admins for internal training purposes. We have sales for sales enablement. We have CX for our customer training use cases. So these are business people that are buying the product. So when we're selling Workato, what we're selling is a solution to a problem. We're not selling the actual platform. A lot of our customers communicated difficulties and friction in dealing with their internal IT teams. And our position is to abstract that difficulty, or we help absorb some of that difficulty for them.
Gotcha. Alicia, what about you? How are you enabling the field team?
Yeah, so it really started out as kind of a grassroots effort. We were going into internal meetings and really asking our sales team, like, what do you guys need to be successful? And it was a lot of, internal education around, what are those maintenance costs and how do we avoid those maintenance costs, and figuring out those sorts of things. We recently brought in the automation board, and we just spun that up within our organization. So we've got key people kind of across the different areas of the business who all have a vested interest in making Workato successful. And so that's been a really kind of exciting new thing that we've brought on in the last couple months, so that every kind of aspect of our business has some skin in the game, and they can then bring to us, like, what do you need to be successful in your particular area. I know like our support folks have been really grateful to be going through, all the Automation Pro training. We have our internal implementation team. Everyone has gone through Automation Pro 3. We require all of our partners who also do our implementation work for us, they also have to have certified specialists. And so it's really kind of rolling the Workato, aspect out to all the different areas of the business. So it just kind of becomes a natural extension of our platform itself.
Yep, I like that. Tom, what would you say is the most meaningful thing that you've done at Epicor and the team holistically to enable the field team to sell Automation Studio?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff we've done, but I think the biggest thing has really been embracing the partnership with you guys and looking at some of the different, suggestions you guys made. The idea of having a group of executive sponsors who we can go to that are going to really promote and evangelize the product within Epicor, right? That was a big help. Having our pre-sales team really work with you guys to understand, Brad and some of those folks to really understand the product at a level that they could work for you guys. They know it so well. And having that integration and that partnership with you guys has been, I think, the biggest thing that's enabled us. And that's one thing I will just say, if anyone here is, thinking about partnering with these guys, one of the best things, in my opinion, has been the level of dedication on the Workato side to help us get where we need to go. You guys have been, I've worked with a lot of companies and a lot of product partners, and you guys have been by far one of the best ones I've ever had the opportunity to work with. So I think that's also been a big boost in us trying to get it implemented to the field. So.
Appreciate that, Tom.
And you can leave that money from my hotel room.
Sure.
I should.
Ryan, let's move back to you. What element of the go-to-market approach do you think has the most impact in driving adoption?
Education, I would say. I think it starts out as, in our example, it starts out as early as, our sales cycle is pretty long. It's generally 9 to 12 months in length. People don't change the revenue heart of their company lightheartedly. And I would say, about a month to 2 months into the cycle, we kind of get to the mid-level of detail as far as demonstrations go. And they typically start asking us to show them examples of how we're going to start talking to the quoting system and how we're going to start talking to their ERP. And we'll have a pre-built recipe. We've got pre-built recipes for all the common ones we integrate with. No one ever uses them out of the box pre-built, because anyone that has a consumption-based business knows you have to kind of hack up your Salesforce to make it work properly, and you have to customize your ERP to make it work properly, and everyone does that a little bit differently. But the ability for us to show their business users, hey, this is what the recipe is right now, and here's exactly how it works, and walk them right through that recipe and get them to start asking questions, and our engineers will just start changing it on the fly, and we show it to them working. And for me, that's where the emotional hook is. I'm a fisherman. The emotional hook is set. And oftentimes, as I mentioned before, a lot of companies already have Workato somewhere in their business. They don't always have it in IT. Sometimes it's sales and marketing that's onboarded Workato because they don't want to go to IT to keep making changes for their integrations to Salesforce. Sometimes it's owned in the office of the CIO. And sometimes, as an example, Garmin's an account of ours. They were not a Workato user, and they ended up licensing Workato through us because it was less paperwork for them to do it through us already onboarded as a vendor than to create a new contract with Workato. But I think it's seeing is believing is how I would kind of simplify that.
Yeah. No, and I think that's true also given what we just spoke about with iSIMS, right? There's a lot of power behind the platform, the abstraction of APIs, and there's a lot of maybe sometimes disbelief, right, that it can do what it can do with such an easy-to-use interface. So for this round, let's just go down the line. I would say, starting with Alicia, what would you do differently if you were to launch Workato all over again to your customer base?
We also started out with the task-based model and switched to the connector model. So I would have gone immediately to the connector model. Again, we have business users going in and being able to just tell them or ask them, how many systems do you need to integrate with is a much easier conversation to have than, can you tell me all of the steps and all of the different things you may need to do and for how many contracts? It's a much easier conversation. And I think the other thing that I would do is, I think I underestimated, because we had previously built so many integrations with custom APIs and done all of that. I thought that this would be like a really easy, natural like transition for folks, and having more information available earlier about, you know, just the buy versus build of APIs versus Workato, and you guys were great in getting me all of that information as soon as I needed it, but just having that available on the front end would have been really helpful.
Got it. Tom, what about you?
Well, I mean, our launch was pretty successful overall. The things I would probably do differently if we could go back would be to have a little bit more education in some of the areas of our services team who was delivering it. You know, we have different divisions within Epicor. One side has a lot of experience with integrations already, the other side not so much. So as you're aware, one side kind of lagged behind because of that lack of knowledge and integration. So to me, that would be the one thing I think I would redo, is I would want that services integration to our folks who are delivering the product to our customers to be a little bit more up to speed on, you know, before they had started. But we've since overcome that problem. We've worked with Workato to get training to our folks. We've worked with our self-service tools, and now we have that, the P21 side is really moving full strength. So
yeah.
We kind of made that change going through. So.
Yeah, and I know you got onboarded before we came out with the Ignite program and First Value Initiative, but I think having the automation board was a critical component in introducing the right stakeholders that, in your case, would be, you know, from services, right, from day one or day zero. Massimo, what about you? What is one thing that you would change?
So when we launched, or when we partnered, we were trying to solve a win rate and churn problem, or not necessarily problem, but we were trying to improve win rates and churn. If I had to go back, it would be a greater focus on direct revenue. So approaching it as, how can we make money and how can this be profitable as quickly as possible and as much as possible.
Okay.
And also services, services, services.
So like what Tom said, huh? Okay.
Services.
Services. Ryan?
So ironically, we trained services first, and if I did it again, I would do it the other way around. I would train the sales engineering team before I would train the services team. We had a need to do it because, as I mentioned, that's how we got introduced to Workato. So we had a very live, real, revenue-producing use case that services needed to deliver. The second thing I would have done differently is I would have started with the connection model out of the gate, because it's just easier to estimate, and it becomes a 5-minute conversation versus a 5-day to 5-week back and forth. And the third thing I would change, which I'm in the process of changing right now, is we haven't fully embedded much of the Workato functionality directly in our interface. We've branded the Workato interface, and it's workflows, logisense.workato.com, and it works fine, but there's a dozen or so things that are really commonly used, and I need to get those embedded. But as many people here probably experience, the priority list for product is never ending, and haven't got to it yet.
Well, you must have looked at my cue cards, because that was one of the questions I had next. So moving on to Massimo, what's next for the go-to-market strategy at Docebo?
Partner tools. So what we want to do is expand and actually use our embedded solution to enable our partners to create integrations between Docebo and whatever else based on Workato, so that they can get quicker to market.
Okay. And when you say partners, more like SI partners, or can you elaborate a little bit more there?
So service partners, technology partners. So for example, if let's say Zoom comes to us and say, hey, we want to integrate with you, it's like, here's your tool set. Don't worry about our APIs. Don't worry about maintaining our APIs. Don't worry about deprecation. Don't worry about our documentation. Here's our connector. Here's a recipe. Knock yourself out.
Nice. Okay. Tom, what's next for Automation Studio?
Yeah, we've got, at Epicor, we have several different products. So we're going to be pushing out, right now we launched Automation Studio into Kinetic and P21. That's our manufacturing and distribution products, but then we're also going to be launching into retail, into our lumber tracks, into our BizTracks line. So there's a lot more rollout of the product to different areas of the company. And then additionally, we are also rolling out a partner program to our partner implementers, our VARs, who implement Epicor so that they can actually use Workato internally and roll it out to their customers to build more integration, which will just drive more sales.
Awesome.
So those are our kind of big initiatives next year.
Alicia?
We are rolling out in EMEA, so that'll be our kind of next big push is, adding that data center for us. Everything's been North American so far, so that'll just be kind of replicating the model and just seeing if there's any, go-to-market changes that we need to address that particular market.
So we keep the task pricing for specific use cases. I had a customer who had 47 FTP sites, all with unique logins. That would be 47 connectors. He maybe did 10, 15 tasks per site. It was just priced out of the ballpark for him to buy it. So we want to have an option for those customers. Obviously, it's more expensive to go task for them, but if they're using a low volume of tasks and a high amount of connectors, the task base works better. Similarly, our retail division, which we're going to be launching into, is very similar to that model constantly. So we actually, Sandy, I will tell you the story. When I came over and took over Automation Studio, I said, we're getting rid of this task-based pricing. We don't need this. And boy, did some people get mad. So because there's a whole division that was looking at that as a pricing model. So having both gives us flexibility is really what it comes down to. Questions?
Yep. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming today.